Greetings, lovely internet peoples, random people across the whole realm watching this. I don't know from where, I don't know from when, but I do know what I'm going to talk about, and a bit of a personal one, to be honest, because I've been through ups and downs with this substance, product, and it is tobacco. So I want to explore a few things. I want to talk about a few things because I feel like tobacco is one of the things that is demonized in the West, but you go into places in South America and you find them smoking up the tobacco herb, Mapacho, to be exact. So let's get right into it, guys. You know, we're sold tobacco here in the form of, I think Americans call it a square, we call it a fag in the UK, a ciggy, a chippy, or whatever it's called. You know that circular one with the little button thing nowadays that has like the menthol one, but the classic one just without the menthol, just that circular, perfect circular one. So that's essentially a square, what I'm talking about, the tobacco here. And that one over in the West, I think it's one of the reasons why so many people are addicted to it, is because, guys, you go into any shop and you have tobacco for sale. You go in any public space and people allow you to smoke tobacco. They won't allow you to smoke Mary Jane. And tobacco is probably addictive because of that. Like, it has its benefits. Like, don't get me wrong, nicotine is an amazing chemical, right? Nicotine is in our nightshade family, in our tomatoes, in our eggplants, in bell peppers, things like that. But when we smoke tobacco, we feel grounded, we feel nice, we feel calm, we feel at ease, we feel like it's like, oh, okay, I'm grounded. And I'll give you guys some wisdom as to why people feel grounded when they smoke tobacco. Nicotine, well, let's just say tobacco. Tobacco belongs to the house of Capricorn, and Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. So no wonder the tribes in the bushes in the Amazons and around the Amazons claim that this is a masculine plant and it has masculine energy, because it does. Saturn and Capricorn is completely masculine, right? So I'm not surprised as to why they say that, and it's very true. I see it, I feel it. I'm pretty sure other people have felt it as well. Something that just brings you right down, after rituals, after so many things that people can do. Tobacco stick is very nice. Obviously, I'm talking about a Mapacho stick, like a Mapacho rolled tobacco. But if you don't have that, then I guess we have to resort to smoking that tobacco and getting that nicotine from that square. But you see that square, okay? We have something called the mucociliary tract. Essentially, how mucus works and runs up and down our esophagus and this hole, literally this hole right here, our mouth, right? So that mucociliary tract is used to help us fight off germs and diseases and so many things, and it gets very damaged when we smoke tobacco on a constant basis. And it can take years. I remember asking my lecturer, I was like, how many years does it take until this is repaired, the mucociliary tract? Because I used to smoke tobacco, I'll get into that. And she was like, you don't even want to know? I was like, I do want to know. She was like, years. So it takes a long time to repair your body from smoking, not only the mucociliary tract, but mainly what everyone knows as the lungs. The lungs do get damaged, guys. But this is the thing, people want to endorse smoking tobacco because the government has made a monopoly on tobacco. And it's not that nicotine is a bad substance, as I've just explained, but it's the fact that when we smoke that square, that classic cigarette, we're not just smoking the nicotine, we're not just inhaling nicotine. That nicotine is one out of at least 4,000 chemicals within that little cigarette. So it's treated in a way where I think if more people was to really know how that tobacco was made and treated and fostered for and cared for, then I don't think they would smoke as much. I think they would be more inclined to begin a quitting process. And honestly, it's sad to see that people are completely negligent of Mary Jane, of smoking marijuana, weed, cannabis, whatever you want to call it. But they willfully allow tobacco smoke any and everywhere, when Mary Jane hasn't really claimed a single life of people. You can't really find a life that is claimed. Now, I get some people might have died from the anxiety attack or some related things, but the marijuana plant itself is actually very healing. It can be used to treat people with Parkinson's and so many things, so many things. You guys can look this up. You probably know if you're watching this video. And yeah, it's a very ancient plant, the Mary Jane, 9,000 years old. We found the oldest use of it in, I think, Egypt, in the papyri of Egypt, old scrolls essentially, papyrus. And even before that, I think one of the most famous stories that I heard Joey Diaz tell, um, was that the Chinese guy essentially, he went and used marijuana, essentially cannabis, as like an incense. And every time he used it as an incense, he obviously got a little bit high, and he had this blue bird coming to him, and the blue bird kept telling him like, and guys, I speak bird, so I come. Blue bird used to tell him stuff, and all of a sudden he had this idea of becoming an emperor and taking down these like towns, and becoming like an emperor and taking control of them. Sure enough, I think what Joey Diaz said was that he came to be like one of the first emperors of China. So it can definitely inspire people, Mary Jane. It opens up your mind, but there's a negative side to it as well, because it kind of thins your auric field, and it can let things in and out, and people don't really use it in the same way, in the correct way, as they would with tobacco. Now, before we get into this Mary Jane conversation, I want to keep it on tobacco and save the whole Mary Jane talk for another day. But tobacco, guys, the way we use it in the West, every time we get a break in our jobs, every time we get a break from just doing an activity, we feel like, right, boom, let's roll one up, or let's just pick one out the pack and boom, smoke it. And I say that because that used to be me, right? When you work in a job, when you have a job and you get essentially a break, only if you smoke, you're going to want to get that break because you're tired from your work. You don't want to be in that same mindset, right? Well, this is why you should pick a job that you love. But it's true, like when you get a break, and the only reason you get that break is if you smoke, you're going to want to smoke. If you're around other smokers, regardless of job or no job, you're going to want to smoke. If you're in that social setting of a pub and this and that, you're going to want to smoke. And it takes a lot of courage, determination, willship, whatever you want to call it. It just takes grit, right? Strength, a bit of strength to accept the fact that, hey, I might want to smoke right now because everyone around me is smoking, or this might feel like it's a good thing for smoking, but it doesn't really align with me. Or if it does align with you, then do carry on and do smoke if that is something you want to do. And to say no to that when you don't feel aligned with it, and that you feel like it's a bad thing to do, then it's hard. It's hard because I've been there. I have been a smoker of tobacco from the ages of more or less 17 to 20, and even last year I was delving into tobacco. I'm recording this somewhere in the middle of April, right? And 2025, and even last year I had a few moments where I was really stressed with relationships, with people, with life, and I felt like smoking. And I'd done chain smoke like 8 in a row when I was extremely stressed, having a bit of a breakdown. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna chain smoke. I'm just gonna chain smoke 8 cigarettes, and that's what I did. I remember chain smoking 8 cigarettes at like 2 a.m. or something, right? In some odd November night or December night last year. Relationship issues and stuff that happens. And then I didn't even touch it much after that until now, like at all. It's crazy. Like when you need it. Then again, we don't really need it. Like that's the thing. Even me in that situation, even other people in different situations, it's not that we need it. It's that it's there. Okay, and because it's there, we need it. If it wasn't there, we wouldn't need it. But even though we still want it, we'd feel like, oh, I need it. There's other things you can do, and there's other ways you can deal with that. And growth happens from making those mistakes. You don't grow without mistakes. No one's born perfect, not even Superman. And tobacco might be a kryptonite for some people. It's dangerous. So yeah, I literally smoked from, I think it was the ages of 16 to 17 up until about 20, and it was on and off. But I think for about the longest time that I did smoke consistently daily was about a year and a half ish, 2 years. But it would be on and off. Like I'd take 3-4 months break, be like, no, fuck that, that's not me, I'm aligning to my higher self, and fall back right into it. And it's hilarious. I find that hilarious, like sentimental, because it's something that I've been through. But looking back now, I find this shit hilarious. Sorry for my language, pardon my French, or my Albanian as I like to call it. But that shit is hilarious. And guys, like the one thing you must remember when it comes to smoking tobacco is the fact that you're actually smoking and taking in a spirit. Now, spirit in itself means breath, and you really realize how fragile life is when you practice something like pranayama, breath work, what they call breath work. When you practice holotropic breathing, when you practice different types of breath work, you realize that our lungs hold everything that we need, right? We can go a few days without water, we can go months without food. I myself went, I think it was 30 or 31 days, either 30 or 31, I forgot now, last year, actually this month last year, with no food. I was just on liquids, just juicing, and some of them were smoothies, some of them were more liquidy, because I think the smoothie ones on the John Rolls protocol and the Gerson therapy are better for just like being a little bit heavier, taking a little bit slower and cleaning things out. But anyways, I went a full month without food. I've been a few days, I think a day or two or three actually, without water, but I haven't been 10 minutes, 5 minutes without breath, without this right here, this right here. What is this right here? Oxygen, carbon, nitrogen, even a little bit. Actually, mostly. I don't know the percentages, but it's not a lot of oxygen that we have around us. So swapping that oxygen for tobacco, it's a spirit that we're addicted to. It's an entity that we're addicted to. And behind that comes the things that are attached with it, which is why I refrain from using tobacco given to us by the government, administered by the government. In every corner shop we have tobacco. In every supermarket we have tobacco. Every single where you can look, you will find tobacco for sale. And it's not usually the good kind of tobacco. I mean, if you can get the roll-up tobacco, the loose leaf tobacco, Amber Leaf was my favorite. It's what I used to smoke because it was loose leaf and it had way less chemicals. It was like 70 compared to the normal cigarette stick. It was like 4,000. I was like, oh, I'm gonna go ahead and use that normal one, that loose leaf. I think my cat wants to join me up here. And yeah, it's incredible, to be honest. I never thought I would be someone addicted to tobacco in general, smoking in general. I honestly never thought. I never even thought I'd be a weed smoker or anything when I was little. But here we are. Lo and behold, we find ourselves in circumstances and situations we never thought we did, and that teaches us. Psst, oi! Stop eating that. My cat's eating plastic. Sorry about that. We find ourselves in circumstances and situations we never thought we would be, but that's exactly where we get our teachings from, where we teach ourselves, where we really reach deep within ourselves and like, damn, I never thought that'd be possible. But now that it has happened, now that it's been possible, impossible, I'm possible. What can I learn from it? And that's the question you should always ask when it comes to these substances is, what can you learn from it? So, after smoking all those years, after, a lot of people in the UK put tobacco in their joints, in their Mary Jane sticks. They're actually addicted and they actually want to... Oi! This cat is going crazy now. They're actually addicted to the tobacco. They're actually really yearning for that tobacco. They really, really want that tobacco. And adding that piece or 2 or 3 little crumbs of tobacco into the joint does make a difference. And I think Snoop Dogg said this once in an interview. He's like, man, I was over there smoking a joint and it had tobacco in it, give me a head rush. And I was like, no shit, it gives you a head rush. That stuff is crazy. Like, it's really interesting to see what the tobacco and the Mary Jane does together. But guess what else belongs to the house of Capricorn and is ruled by Saturn? Mary Jane, marijuana, Maria and Juan, right? La weed. Oui, monsieur, weed. Yep. Mary Jane is very much ruled by Capricorn and Saturn, and astroherbalism is something that I recommend everyone get into because that's the actual classification of herbs. That's the only classification of herbs to me. But anyways, it's something that is ruled by Saturn, which is why I think they go extremely well together. But I don't think they should always be used together. You see, tobacco has more of a grounding, earthy thing, and marijuana can be a little bit opposing to that, depending on if you're smoking the feminine or the masculine plant, depending on the situation, on the intention, It's very different. Marijuana will thin out your field. Tobacco kind of has a bit of an opposite one where it grounds you, keeps you grounded. Is that grounding mudra right there? And it's something that I recommend everybody delve into, but try Mapacho tobacco. Um, Order it online. I get my hape, which is indigenous medicine from the Amazons, from Nicotine. I don't know if they mail out tobacco. I've heard countless stories from people where they've tried to send tobacco from the Amazons through Brazil, through Peru, through Colombia, through all these places, and they don't allow it outside of South America. They just don't want people having that good tobacco, and they just don't want the Amazons and the people of the Amazons funding themselves and making actual money, you know. Psst, sigh. This cat is gonna knock over my tripod. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, it's a deadly thing, tobacco, when you are smoking it day after day. When you're smoking it and you take a smoke break here, a smoke break there. And I remember smoking it, and it would be like every single inhale I take, I'm like, bro, that's like half an hour. Every inhale I take, it's like half an hour of my life gone. And I knew it wasn't something that would stick with me, which is why I haven't smoked it in months. But like I said, last year I was stressed, and lo and behold, tobacco was there for me. Now, knowing what I know now, and even knowing what I knew back then, I honestly did not need it. It's just because they were there and I had them in the pack and I smoked them. But it doesn't matter whether they're there or not. It matters whether you're here or not, in a state where, you know, you're present and you're like, hey, you know what, maybe I don't actually need this. But in times of high stress and in times of high mental fatigue, yeah, hey, it is what it is, guys. Don't be too hard on yourselves with tobacco addiction and these things, because the world is already hard with you. The world is already your enemy in most ways, you know. Not a good mindset to have, that the world is your enemy, but hey, it's not your bestest of friends. But the alchemist can make the enemies into friends, and we won't even title it enemies or friends, but just do something. Just transmute, let's put it that way. Transmutation. Take that stress. Don't use tobacco in the form of that transmutation, even though it can be. Use something else. Learn the kriyas of yoga. Learn ways to release the energy through writing, journaling. You know, I recommend always 2 journaling, one for emotions and your mental stuff, and the other for dreams, you know. They'll tell you a lot, those journals, once you read them back. So I can't speak for everybody's addiction. I can speak for mine, willfully, proudly. There we go. There's the English gone. And yeah, it's something that I recommend everybody look into, how the tobacco in the West is manufactured, because I don't know, I feel like people don't even know that nicotine is actually a very good substance for us. You guys can look up the study on these medical websites that they've conducted, and they found that nicotine can be beneficial for people. It can be a very, very good thing for people when used correctly, when used from the right sources and substances, like your bell peppers, your nightshade family, right? Nightshade is also ruled by Saturn, so everything in that house, tomatoes ruled by Saturn, bell peppers ruled by Saturn, eggplants ruled by Saturn. Then again, we have that same concurring, you know, Saturnian theme, very old, very masculine, very ancient, very structured, you know. Tobacco can help for structure, and it's known as the classic European breakfast. Caffeine, tobacco, cigarette, and that's all you need. That's your breakfast. But I don't consume either. Caffeine and coffee is coffee, not caffeine, but coffee itself. It's not a good substance, at least not for me. If it is for you guys, then that's for you guys. It's certainly not something that's good for me. It is acidic. It is not the best on my kidneys and my adrenals that sit on my kidneys and whatnot. So I stay away from coffee. I stay away from tobacco as much as I can. I won't deny tobacco. I won't ever say, yeah, I'll never smoke tobacco again. No, I know I'll smoke tobacco in the future. Tobacco will always be a part of me. It's something that I don't want to just push out of my reality like, yeah, it's negative. It's negative when you're using it in a negative way. But I can go months, and I've already been a year without smoking tobacco, and it's there when you need it to be. When it finds you, it finds you. When it's there, it's there. And that, I feel like, is when tobacco should be used. Not when you go after it when you're stressed or something like that. Depends. Sometimes that could also help too, you know. But this is the thing with substances. I like to stay away from substances. I like to keep my distance from smoking this and ingesting this and taking that. I'm not very heavy on substances, and that's just me personally. I like to live a very clean, normal life. I like water. I like water. I like my fruits. I like my smoothies. I like my juices. I like my herbal teas. But I also love my Mary Jane when I have it. I also love my microdosing mushrooms and my psilocybin mushrooms and everything, like when it's there. Like I don't just outright say, nah, that's demonic, that's this, that's that. No. They're amazing substances. But when you guys, and I don't need to say this anymore, but when you guys find yourselves in that situation when you're like, oh, like that actually felt nice to use, like I actually felt a different kind of energy right there and then when I took it, when I ingested it, when I smoked it, when I inhaled it, then you'll see for yourselves. But another thing is that, our parents, for example, I'm 22 at the moment, I'm about to turn 23. My parents, so my grandparents and everything, on the TV and everything, they were being told like, hey, go and smoke tobacco, go and smoke this, it's good for your oral health, it's good for this and it's good for that. In the 40s and 50s and 60s, I don't know about that now, my boy. I don't know about that now. You carry on doing that and see how that works out for you. And here's the thing, guys. The power of the mind is amazing. We had doctors telling people that tobacco was tremendous for them. Amazing. But we also find that some people live up until the ages of 80, 90, 100 smoking cigarettes every single day. Why? They don't live a life where they have worry and stress. They smoke their tobacco, they drink their wine, they eat their red meat, and even though they're all carcinogens and they're all bad for you and negative for you, do what you want to do, believe what you want to believe, but hey, that's just the truth. There's a subjective and the objective truth. And the objective truth is that tobacco, red meat, and all those things are carcinogens, okay? It's not a WHO conspiracy to get you off red meat and being a weak vegan or whatever. And it's also not a bad thing to want to stop tobacco. But the truth is that they are carcinogens for a reason. And people will eat the red meat and smoke the cancer sticks and the tobaccos and live up to 80, 90 years of age. How? Guys, the power of the mind is amazing. When you have no stress in your mind, when you're the director, as a neuroplasticity scientist told me recently, when you're the director, when you're the alchemist within you, you direct your life. You talk to the bacteria and the cells within your body, but especially the bacteria, which this scientist kind of told me to, which is very interesting, the gut connection. But when you talk to the cells in your body and you have a conversation with them and you tell them, hey, this, and this, I'm smoking this, I'm doing this, be extra careful on this, and you tell them that, you make them aware of that. Some people do this so unconsciously. I think most people do it unconsciously, actually, and they have no idea that they're actually doing some high-level alchemy on a low level of mind, right? It's interesting to see that. So yeah, this is people who live up to such a high age when, for example, in the 40s and 50s, like I mentioned, they were telling people on the televisions that smoking is good for you and you should smoke at least 3 tobacco sticks per day or something like that, right? And they had this little like instrument where they stick the cigarette on and they smoke it through it and that's it. And yeah, like guys, people eat junk food and smoke junk cigarettes where they should be smoking the good cigarette, the good tobacco from South America and from other places. I think tobacco actually comes from South America, if I'm not mistaken. Psst, stop. This cat is getting annoying now. It's messing about with my olive plant, which actually is Saturnian as well. And yeah, like people can go on decades smoking, decades, and you'll see them like, hey, how is this dude or how is this woman so healthy? Like, at least they look healthy, or you know that they've been smoking and it doesn't look like it's had a big effect on them. Guys, like I said, there's the objective and the subjective truth. The objective is what no one can... The objective is just one side of it. It has one face and no more, okay? It's the one-dimensional truth, and it is a fact. The subjective, however, depends per person. Now, I might tell you that eating meat isn't good and it's a carcinogen and it's this and it's that. True, but that's truth because that's subjective to me. To you, that might be completely different. I might tell you the same thing for cigarettes and you'll be like, bullshit, I'm going to carry on smoking it because that's your subjective truth. But the objective truth, here's where it changes. I might tell you that meat is a carcinogen and you might tell me, no, that's not. And that comes from your subjective experience. But the objective truth is that meat is a carcinogen. The objective truth is that tobacco and smoking tobacco is not good for you. The objective truth is that wearing polyester is not good for you. The objective truth is that drinking from plastic bottles is not good for you. The objective truth is that drinking from copper bottles is good for you, is amazing for you. And shouts out to Pani, who I've just got this bottle from. But it's one of those things, guys. We have to learn the differences between the objective and the subjective truth. And I couldn't care less what my diet would be like or what my intake of substances would be like if I am made for it and if I can have it and if it is healthy for me, if it is made for the human genome and the human body. Why not take it? Why not? Why not? Use it to the best of my ability. And that's what I say about eating meat. You know, if it was made for me and if there was a mineral that I couldn't get from the vegetable kingdom or the plant kingdom and that I had to eat meat, 100%, 2000% I'd be consuming meat. Regardless of the animal's life, I would be consuming meat because I need it to live. Otherwise, I would die, no? But I'm alive. I'm thriving. Same thing with tobacco. I'm alive and thriving. I don't need the tobacco. But when it comes to times of spiritual help, when your spirit is in a certain anguish, how I was, when your mind and body need a certain relaxation, because it has biological benefits as well, smoking that tobacco and getting that nicotine in your body, it relaxes you. It puts you in a state, you're like, oh, and it's present. You guys will feel it after not smoking tobacco for a long while. And it has a stench. If we're being honest, the tobacco in the West has a stench that I'm not really a fan of at all. It leaves a scent, a marker. It's like, it's not really nice. But the amber leaf tobacco is a bit different. The one that I used to smoke, and it never used to leave that kind of stench. Actually, I like that smell, and I still like it. I haven't smelled it in God knows how long, but I remember anytime I used to open a brand new pack of like 30 gram or 50 gram, I used to open it up. The first thing I used to do, a big whiff of amber leaf tobacco right up my nostrils into my olfactory, right there, and it used to stimulate the F out of my brain. No joke. Stimulation 101. Sniffing tobacco. Forget sniffing glue, how the crackheads did in the 70s. Sniff that tobacco before you smoke it and let the spirit enter you before you just intake it. If you're going to smoke. I'm not advising anyone to smoke. I'm not advising anyone to take any substances. But hey, this is the reality we find ourselves in, and we can't neglect it. We can't just push it to the side like demonic, angelic. I'm going to keep this and I'm not going to keep that. It's a tricky road, that one. But hey, when we're in circles, when we're with friends, when we're with people in certain situations, a tobacco stick isn't bad. But the moment you start to feel like, I'm going to want this more, I'm going to want this even more, and I'm going to want it even more, and even more, and even more, and even more, then you got to have a conversation with yourself, settle yourself down, and find out what it is that you truly want. And if that's what you feel like you need, feed it to yourself for 10, 20, 30 years, and see how that works for you. See how it's gonna affect you. And hey, if you are gonna smoke, drink your mullen. Help yourself with your lungs, you know. Have some cardiovascular routine or something at least once or twice a week. And keep yourself healthy, man. Keep yourself on it. Keep yourself burning some calories. Keep yourself activated with that cardiovascular system, those lungs pumping, that heart pumping. And that's all I could recommend, and that's all I could say for now. I'm trying to think of any other things that I could add to this, but yeah, I mean, I've been through tobacco addiction, Mary Jane addiction a little bit, and especially with tobacco addiction, I can tell you that it's not pleasant. When you are someone who's inclined to health, who's inclined to seeing the better version of yourself, and let's be honest, not everyone is. Some people just here and they are a bit, I don't want to say hedonistic, but they're sadistic in a way where they're like, don't really care about life. They're just like, oh, I wasn't asked to be born. I don't really care. I'm just going to use these substances and do whatever I feel like to do, and whatever. Fine. Those people exist because that is their reality, and whatever they want to do, whatever they want to take, whatever they don't want to take, go on with yourself, man. Go on with yourself alongside, man. No one deal with you, man. We want to deal with myself and my people and my tribe, as them I say. But anyways, that's a whole nother palaver. We find that people like that exist. But when you're a person that wants to better yourself, when you're a person that wants to see the best version of yourself, so to say, you realize very quickly as you're smoking tobacco that's not something that's always going to be there for you. You know it's going to drop someday. You know you're going to leave it someday. You know it's not going to be in your mouth or around your lips every single day. Someday you're going to drop it. And someday you should. I recommend everyone should drop it. I recommend everyone, if they want to, buy a pack of Mapacho tobacco from South America, however and wherever you can from, and keep it once in a while. But don't smoke it on a daily. Don't use it as like an over excessive ritual, because that's not really using it in a positive way, at least in my opinion. So with that being said, guys, I'm gonna leave the video here. I hope you guys have learned some things. I know probably most of you could relate to this video and see exactly where you can relate to me, and you've been through this in your own journeys and experiences of the substance of tobacco, and whatever type of tobacco. You know, tobacco's even used for hape, you know, traditional hape. Not all hapes, but most hapes. I'll make a video on hape. They have tobacco in it because it is a cleansing plant. It can really, really focus you and ground you. And I use hape daily, you know. It's a powder that essentially goes up your nostrils and clears out your sinus, and it has a bunch of other effects that I won't get into at the moment, but very spiritual effects that I really, really admire from tobacco. I mean, from hape tobacco as well, but other trees that they put in it. So yeah, have yourselves a wonderful day, peoples of the internet, wherever and whenever you are. Some of you may be watching this in the future, and enjoy.